Okay, you should be using a vertical test to check whether your function is a function. Okay, so if I were to pass my ruler vertically, okay, it should always at any point in time only intersect the graph at one point. So if you look at all the graph I have here, it will definitely only touch one point at one time. So this one no issue. So all the graphs that you see here, they are functions. Okay, these are examples of function. So just now they show you one, which was your other curve that is inverted in a different direction. So this one, if you fit in one x value, if I were to draw a dotted line, it will give you two different y values. One here, one here. So in such a case, this is not a function because one x value should only give you one y value at any point in time. So this is just a non-example of function. Okay, but these are all the graphs you see here. You shouldn't be scared about it because you will learn it in A Math and E Math. So in A and E, you will learn a total of 14 different types of graphs. You will need to know how they look like. Okay, so these are just some examples of the graphs you need to know. But of course, this one is out of syllabus already. They took it out. Okay, this one is also out of syllabus already because they took it out. Don't need to memorize. But if you are ever asked to plot, it is fine. Okay, the rest, you will still be required to memorize how they look like. Okay, but one question for you all to ponder over. Can I have two different inputs, that means two different x values, that gives me the same output? Can I have that for functions? Can or cannot? I put in this x value, it gives me this y. I put in another x value, it gives me the same y. Can I have that? Can because it's still one x value gives me one y. It doesn't matter whether the y value is the same or not. So if I zoom into this one, quadratic, can you see that when my x is equals to 1, my y is equals to 1? Right? But when my x is negative 1, it also gives me y equals to 1. No issue. So if it gives you the same output, it is fine. But you cannot have the same input giving you two different outputs. So that's the thing that you need to think about. Okay, so this is just your understanding of function. Will they test you on that? Nobody knows because O-level is going everywhere now. Okay, but it's good to understand what is a function. Can? Okay, let's do some questions. Okay, this one, they just talk about the idea of function. Just like area, we all know if you want to find area of a circle is pi r squared. Right? Because the variable here is radius. I keep changing the radius, my circle gets bigger and bigger. Okay, that's the only thing. So I can say that actually A is a function of R. Okay, governed by the relationship of pi r squared. So I can write everything as a function. And you just have to be extra careful that this is not A times R. Okay, in algebra, but it's A being a function of R. Okay, so this is a new notation that I need you to be familiar with. In A Math, we use this. E, we don't use function like f of x. We use y. Okay, but A Math, we use function. So this one you need to be careful. Just now you hear the word parentheses. Okay, it's just another word that they use for bracket. Okay, nothing fancy about it. Okay, can you come out with a function for me? Any function you can think about? You learn so many formulas in lower secondary, right? Any function you can think about? Simple one? One variable kind. But got two variable. I cannot have two variable, right? I can only have one variable. Just like this, only radius. So is there any other kind of relationship you know? Y equals to ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, so your quadratic expression or your quadratic equation in this case is a function of x. You can write it this way as well. Because the only thing that changes is the value of x, and then your ABCs are constant. So this is an example of a function. Or you can also have your y equals to mx plus c. Okay, and then you can put it as a function of x. So the letter you use in front don't matter. It's just what is convenient. Okay? So in chapter 4, you will learn polynomials. You will see a lot of p bracket x because it's polynomial. It's just a convenient letter to use. Okay? Okay, let's do examples. Getting very dry, right? A lot of content. Okay, let's practice how to do this. Are you still copying? No, right? So it's just an example. Okay, this one. So, just now they say why do they like to represent function in this way is because you don't need to write very long story. Okay, but instead you can just ask for the value of f bracket 0. Meaning, asking you to substitute x and find what is the corresponding y value. So, I can just do this. I sub in x as 0 into my equation, and this is what I get. So it's a very easy way to represent your answer. So this one you just have to be very careful about because it is, you need to note that mathematicians are lazy. They don't like English, right? They like to represent symbols with everything. So instead of writing this chunk, they actually preferred writing this. Okay, which cuts the whole story very short. Okay, so this is nothing new. Every time they put the bracket with the value inside, you have to sub it into the equation. Okay, part 2 is the only new thing in this chapter for this subtopic. When they ask you to find all the possible values of f of x, okay, there's one thing that I need you all to either box it, write it somewhere, remind yourself that any expression you are given, as long as it is a bracket square, it will always be greater or equals to 0 for any real values of the variable. Okay, because if let's say I just put it simply as x squared, what is the smallest possible value of x you can put in such that x squared gives you the lowest value? What is the smallest value you can think of? 0 squared still gives you 0. That's the minimum already, right? But if I put a negative 100, I square it, it will give me 10,000. It will give me a more positive. A bigger negative value I put in, I square it, it gives me a more positive value. So whatever I put in, whether it's a very big positive number or a very negative number, when I square it, it gives me a very large positive number. So the smallest value I can put in, no matter what value I can think of, it is 0. Because 0 gives me the smallest already. Everything else is going to be bigger than 0. So that's why we can safely use this, okay, for every example that we have. As long as we square it, the smallest value is 0 or positive. Okay, so this is always valid. So we are going to use this for many chapters in A Math. So you have to remember this. Okay, so how do we prove this? This is my f of x expression. I'm going to start off to try to find what is the range of values that my output will take. Okay, so I'm going to start off with my x squared. Because this is the one that I know for sure that it will always be greater or equals to 0 for all real values of x. Okay, meaning whatever values of x I sub in, when I square it, it will always be greater or equals to 0. Then moving forward, I want to manipulate until I get this relationship. So I multiply by 2 on both sides. So that arrives me at 2x squared is still greater or equals to 0. And then I want to get nearer to this, so I need to subtract 4 on both sides. Okay, and then this is essentially your f of x function. And I've just shown that all my f of x function must be greater or equals to -4. So this is the all the positive real values for f of x that I can get. So this is the answer. That means no matter what values of x you are going to substitute in this expression, all my values will be greater or equals to -4. So that's what they want you to find. What's the range of values that your y can take? So this is your range of values that your y can take, no matter how you map it. Can? Can, Jian? Okay, can. Okay, so with that, can you look at the next example? Try it on your own. Okay, it's an exact similar example. Okay, but try on your own. Okay, using the exact same concept. Done? Okay, so your f of -1 shouldn't be difficult. It's just substitution. It's what you have done many times in lower sec. So most of you should get 2, unless you forget to bracket your -1 in your calculator. Okay, so this one just be careful. Okay, we will always start with bracket square greater or equals to 0. But in this case, because it's only x square, I proceed with x square is greater or equals to 0. Don't be lazy. You have to write this out. Okay? Then next is I want to make it this way. I need it to be -2. So remember inequality, when you multiply by negative number, what happened? You flip the sign. Okay, because if it becomes very negative, it becomes smaller, right? So you got to flip the sign. and then it gets 2 negative x squared, still 0. So inequality sign, remember when you multiply by negative number, flip the sign. And then now to make it like this, I have to add the 4 to both sides. So on the left hand side, this is your function f of x. And you have just proven that it is less than or equals to 4 for any x values that you can imagine. Okay, so these are all the possible values of f of x. That's all. So that kind of question, when you see it, most likely the answer will be a range. Okay, there's many possibilities. Okay, here's the fun part. Why you learn completing the square? Basically, when it comes to A math, you have to complete the square a lot. So can you first of all complete the square to get into this form first? Then we can proceed with the question. Okay, can you do it? Okay, before you check against what I write on the screen. Okay, complete the square first. Ben, all done. Complete the square, complete the square. Okay, in fact, once you can complete the square, then you should be able to get all the other parts that they want you to do. So all possible real values of f of x, you start from the bracket square. So always write this for all real values of x. Okay, but of course the variable change to other letter, then you change to other letter. Be flexible, people. So bracket square will always be greater or equals to 0. So in this case, it's a x plus 3. So just now it was x squared because the previous expression only got x squared, but now it's a x plus 3. So you just copy the whole chunk down. So even if I give you a very scary expression inside, it doesn't matter. It's still a bracket square. Okay, so just remember that. And then we need to subtract 13 on both sides. So your f of x is always greater or equals to negative 13. So this whole thing is your answer. This is all the possible values you have. Okay, part 2 and part 3 is a very silly question because if you remember we learned sketching, right? We can get turning point directly from completed square form. How do we get the turning point? Minus 3. Okay, so this is negative 3. And then my y will be after I zero out this whole thing. Right? So now they are asking me what is the minimum value of f of x. So it will be this lah. Because this is your f of x value. This is your x. Or rather it's your y value. But in this case we call it f of x. So they only wanted this to be this. And then what's the x that make it happen? It is negative 3. That's all. 2 marks for part 1, 1 mark for part 2, 1 mark for part 3. 4 marks like that in your pocket. Okay, take it. So if you want, you can add in this. If you don't want, it doesn't matter. Okay, there's a self-practice one at the bottom of the page. You can quickly complete the square and check whether your understanding is correct. Okay, just do your side working at the side and double check your understanding. Okay, all the self-practice you can always do and check your understanding later. Can? So A math, you must really love algebra because you see a lot of letters and you just keep manipulating them around. Anybody regretting your choice? Okay, good. All good. Copying, huh? Okay, I read. Done, huh? Okay, this is the one that I'm talking about. In A math, you're completing the square is not as easy as E math. E math can only have coefficient of x squared being 1 or -1 at most. Which one you haven't? Okay, this one. So this is where things gets a bit more complicated. So like what I mentioned, complete the square, right? You all must remind yourself that the method can only work if your coefficient is 1. Coefficient of x squared must be 1. So you got to extract whatever whatever factor you see in front before you can start your completing the square. So let me do A with you. So what I'll usually do is I'll take out the 3. Okay. And then usually I will leave out the 2 because I don't want to factorize so many things. But if you want, you can just extract all the common factor together in one shot. So if you want, you will end up having this lah inside. Okay, which is a fraction, which is irritating. So usually what I do is I don't touch the constant. I leave it outside the bracket. I don't extract any common factor. I only deal with the x squared and the x. And then I can start completing the square. Remember, you add half of this number square and you subtract it away. This is the 0 pair that you add. Okay? You can't take away things that you never put in. So 0 pair must always have an addition before you subtract. So this one is important. Why I mention? Because year after year, I have students forgetting whether to plus or minus first. So remember, you cannot take away anything that you never put in. If not, it's stealing. So remember, plus first followed by minus. Okay, then you can complete this part here. Okay, it's nothing different from what we have done. You just keep whatever within the bracket, complete the square, then you expand out. So I've done the completing the square for this. Okay, if you prefer to have the constant there so that you are less confused, you just do it as how you normally do. Okay, so I've just completed the square. What I do is I expand it. So 3 of this minus 3, and then I have a plus 2 outside. So this is my completed square form. Oh, yes. Did they ask? Okay. Later I will write out. Okay, later I will answer this part, but let's sort out the completed square form first. Okay, so same thing, no matter which example, whether it's part A or part B, the coefficient of x square must be 1 first before you can complete the square in the square bracket. So now I've made it 1 already. So all I have to do is to add my 0 pair. So 0 pair is always half of the number here. Ayo, why my pencil suddenly? Okay, so 3 over 2, if you half it, is 3 over 4. Okay, and then you take it away. Okay, so how to complete the square? It's basically these two. Okay, if you can skip steps all the way, just skip it, it's fine. Okay, this is just as explicit as I can be. Okay, so these 3 goes into your bracket. This is what I have here. Okay? Yep. Yes. Why cannot follow? Really? Who is lost? Yeah. This is my f of x value. I will extract it out here so that I can explain to you nicely. First thing first, do you all remember sketching? You can tell turning point from completed square form. So what is the turning point here? Is it maximum or minimum? Maximum or minimum? The x square coefficient is 3. So when A is positive, you are happy. So it's a minimum curve. Okay, so this one first thing. Second thing, what is the turning point? So must be 1, my x must be 1, so that the bracket square disappears. And then what will my y be? -1. So this will be my turning point. So one look at this, I will know that it is a minimum point with coordinate 1, -1. So completed square form is very powerful because it tells you what is your turning point. Okay, next one here. Let me copy out my expression. Okay, if you don't like fraction, you use decimal. Okay, they are equally functional. So can you tell me, is this a maximum or minimum curve? Here, it's negative. So you are upset, you frown. So it's a maximum curve. Okay, so what is the turning point here? What is the coordinate of the maximum point? Okay, so this one, you got to be opposite of this sign, right, always, so that it cancels out. So the whole thing zeroes out. It doesn't matter whether there's a number outside, right, because it's multiplied by 0 anyway. So the whole thing is gone. So your y is this. Then you just copy down. Okay, so this is the third. Don't understand, huh? How come? Were you here yesterday? So you missed the whole sketching part, right? See me after school. This one, yeah, you need extra time. Did you watch the video yesterday? See, you must catch up. Yes, Raj also, right? Then the two of you see me after school lah. Straight after school today. Today got CCA? Have ah? Which CCA are you all from? Badminton and NCC. We try 15-minute can sketching. I can do in 15. Can? Can 15, quick one. Or you buy your food, then you come and meet me. Can Okay, so remember the turning point you can read from completed square form. You know the shape, but A-math like you to justify. How come you know this? E-math you just memorize, right? You know already, then that's it lah. This is the value. Okay, this is the turning point. It's from the method. But A-math likes you to justify. So first thing first, read the question carefully. They want the maximum or minimum value of f of x. They never say they want the coordinate. They want the y value. So you have to tell me minimum f of x is this one. So you don't write this as your final answer. You don't get the final answer mark. So be careful about that. Same thing here. This one. This is the maximum f of x. Whoever who's lost, you can meet me together with the two of them. Okay, 4 and 1, 8. Okay, so this is the maximum and the minimum value. The justification is this one. Okay, how do you justify it? You have to use the proving part. So let's prove that again. So from this completed square form, we will write this: for any real values of x, we know that this bracket square is greater or equals to 0. If you want to skip some steps, you can straight away write this. Okay? Any bracket square is always greater or equals to 0. Doesn't matter what is inside. Okay? Then you subtract 1 on both sides. So actually what we have found is f of x must always be greater or equals to -1. For any x values you sub in, your y value is always -1 or greater. So therefore, the minimum f of x value must be -1. Because anything is -1 and above. So the lowest value you can go is -1. So they need to see this to be convinced that this is the lowest point. Okay, just like if you really go and sketch that thing out, you will have something like this. And then your lowest point for y is where it is at -1. So that's why this is the lowest point. You can also explain that this is a minimum curve and the lowest point is at -1. So you explain graphically or you explain by working. Whichever the case, it can work. Same thing here. For any real values of x, your bracket square is always greater or equals to 0. So your bracket square is here now. So just copy that down. Okay, and then I need to multiply by -2. So remember to flip your sign. So all your algebraic rules will come in. And then you add 4 and 1/8 on both sides. So you have just proven that f of x must be less than or equals to 4 and 1/8. So everything is 4 and 1/8 or less. So the maximum value must be 4 and 1/8. Cannot go any more already because it's always lesser or equals to 4 and 1/8. So this is the justification. The justification is this. Okay? So is A math very different from E math in a way because you don't just tell me the value, you have to explain to me how you got it mathematically. Okay, a bit here already. Cannot swallow already. I got 7 minutes and I got one more question. You think I can squeeze in one more? So that you can do PMP on your own. I squeeze one more, can you tahan? I will let you copy first. 2 more minutes. A break and then I see you all. Yeah, go. Really go toilet. Need to run around the classroom. Please do it to de-stress.
Yes, for the TMP, for this one, do I have to Right, justify.
No need, just give me the value.
The
Correct. Then you give me the y value. Those who went toilet come back already haven't? This is Helen, that is Scarlett. Okay, left Scarlett, right? Okay, the rest of you, while waiting for Scarlett to come back, for the left hand side expression, can you do a quick complete the square? A quick complete the square. Okay, for the left hand side of the expression, can you try to complete the square first? Okay, quick one, quick one. Why? Okay, ignore the greater or equals to 5. This is what you want to show. No need. Because you want to show that your left hand side is always greater or equals to 5. So don't go and write greater or equals to 5 anywhere. Leave it there. Don't write down. You are supposed to show it. Okay, so you look at the right hand side. This is very important. When you see a show question, do not assume what you are given. That means they give you this doesn't mean they want you to write it all the way. They want you to show that eventually you get that. So don't go and carry it down in all your expression because you are assuming the given. So cannot do that. Just take the left hand side of the expression, go and complete the square, and then you get an expression like this, which you like because you have a bracket square. So for any real values of x, you know that this bracket square thing will always be greater or equals to 0. And if you were to add 5 on both sides, then you know that not f of x, the left hand side, or if you don't want to write like that, just copy the expression. K is always greater or equals to 5. Then you can write shown already. That's all. That's all they need you to do. Okay? So whenever you see show question, some part of your brain must tell you, must have some completing the square somewhere. Must have some bracket square somewhere. Then you can pull this in and solve. Okay? So that's it. I see you later. Take a math break. I will see you again. My brain fried. First thing first is if you are given the general formula for quadratic equation, and then if you go and complete the square like how you have been taught, I think that time I already had Gabby and Shu Huai who did the challenge online, right? We did a trial. Okay, so you take out the a as a common factor because coefficient of x squared needs to be 1. And then after that, you complete the square. And then you end up having this to be your completed square form for f of x. Okay, I zoom in so that you can see better because of the color, right? Okay, so this is the completed square. If you have done it diligently, this is what you will get. And then we all know how to read the turning point from there. It will be the negative of whatever you see here. So this is the corresponding x value. Okay, this is the x of the turning point. And then whatever chunk that you see here, it's your corresponding y value for your turning point. Okay, so this is the x, this is the y. Okay, in E-math, you also learn that actually this turning point, the x value of your turning point is also your line of symmetry. So this is the formula that you can use to find your line of symmetry. So if you want to remember this, you can. So line of symmetry, you can find it by taking negative b over 2a. So instead of finding your 2x-intercept and then you half it, you can also use this formula to find line of symmetry. Because sometimes you don't have x-intercept, then you cannot find the line of symmetry because you cannot half them. So when that happens, you can use this formula to help you. Or you can complete the square and read. It's also fine. So I'm just telling you this is another formula that you can fall back on to help you find line of symmetry and then turning point. Okay, I don't think you will want to memorize this for the corresponding y value because once you get the x, you can sub in and find y. So don't need to go and memorize this formula, but I thought this formula might be useful. God is angry of what I say. Okay, but anyway, so just remember, line of symmetry, you can use that formula to help you. Okay, and then if you go and equate the f of x to 0, shift the entire chunk over, divide by the a, take a square root, bring the b over 2a over. That is your quadratic formula. So that's how mathematicians came up with quadratic formula. Okay, so this is the one that you memorize. Your negative b over, your negative b plus minus square root b square minus 4ac over 2a. So this is the quadratic formula derivation. Okay, but if you don't want, oh yes, you need my signature, right? Like a super idol. Okay, remember to catch up what you have missed. What happened to my screen? Okay, so I'm just saying the quadratic formula that you need to memorize for E-math. A-math, it will be given to you on the formula sheet. Because by then you memorize already, they just give you for fun. Okay, so this one is given on the A-math exam first page formula sheet. But E-math, you need to memorize. And this is for line of symmetry. You might want to highlight it to remind yourself you can use this formula. Okay, then now, based on what you have learned, let's do some matching. Okay, I was trying the feature. I don't know if this will work, but can you all try to scan the QR code? If it cannot work, then we do the normal way. Okay, but I was just curious whether this will work. Okay, you all can do a mix and match. Okay. Okay, you see whether you can see the activity. Yeah. Why? Can enter the room? If can, then you join the correct graph to the correct equation. You can do some working somewhere and see whether this is the correct one. You shouldn't be going to find all the values. Just do some estimation and mix and match. Yeah, can. Okay, try to match the one that you think is the correct one. Okay, you can decide whether it's maximum, minimum, whether the turning point is above or below. Names one. What's the name? Oh, can see. Okay, I got 3 not correct, ah. Three of you. Very fancy ones. Okay, let's double check. Okay, I shall use this as a sample. Where is my pen? I cannot. Okay, although I don't have all the answers. Okay, so if you want to just complete the question, equation A, just now we figured that equation A should match with this one, graph 3. Because this is the 2, this is the 4, if you factor. Okay, so because it is a minimum curve with x-intercept equals to 2 and x equals to 4. Okay, which matches your graph, your equation A. Okay, next one is equation B. if you look at your 2x intercept is 6 and negative 8 and it is a minimum curve. So if you look at the minimum curve, one with 6 and negative 8, so it matches your graph 4. So equation B matches graph 4 because it's a minimum point, minimum curve, sorry. Okay, with x-intercepts. Okay, C is easier, it's also minimum, and the minimum point is 6, 8. So you can write this one to be with graph 1 because this is your 6, this is your 8. So because it is a minimum curve with turning point 6, 8. Okay, the last one will be natural. It's a maximum curve. Okay, and your x-intercept is negative 8 and 6. Okay, so if you are careful, we want to find the coordinates of P. It is 6, 8. Q is minus 8, 0. R is 4, 0. And then S is your y-intercept. Ayo, the bird okay now. Okay, so it's negative 48. Okay, so from your understanding of turning point, from your understanding of the shape, you should be able to match the graphs easily. Okay? Can Yes. Zoom in. Okay, those who's a bit faster, you can move to page 2 and then look at example 1. Sorry? Minus 48. Did I calculate wrongly? Here, right? Did I use the wrong equation? Equation B.
She can't see.
Oh, can't see. Negative 48. Correct. Okay, it's negative 48. Okay? Done? Marius, done? Not yet? Okay. True, why, huh? Why your pen no ink, is it? Plus 6. Okay. Hashid, done? Can I get you done? Okay, let's look at this one. First of all, how do you all decide? You can look at the coefficient to decide the shape first. So this is the only one that has a negative coefficient of x squared. So it must be a maximum curve because it's a frowning curve, right? So this one is the D. So this one is correct. Okay. And then if we look at the next one, this one, the turning point is 6, 8. Which is above the x and above the x-axis, right? So if you look at it, it seems to be that this is the one. This first one is the one. So not to see, because this is 6, 8. Okay, the rest, the turning point are at the wrong place. Okay, or you can see this. If you want to try to solve this, you bring the 8 over. How can a square number be negative? There's no real roots in this case. So that's why the whole graph is floating above the x-axis. Okay, so this is a match to graph C. Okay, and then the next one is this one. I have two x-intercepts. One is at 6. The other one is at negative 8. So it should be this one, because the x-intercept is at negative 8 and 6. So if you do a match, this should be... did I write the D at the wrong place? Oh, no, wrong. This is a minimum curve, right? I chose the wrong one. So this is the one which is at negative 8 and 6. So this is your A. No, this is your B. Okay? And then lastly, this one. If you go and factorize it, you will get negative 4 and negative 2. So the two solutions are 2 and 4. So this is the one that should be here. So you should get a CDAB. Okay? Can I? Okay, let's... Am I able to... Okay, this one. Okay, I'm not going to talk about this. It's the same thing that we've mentioned. How do you actually find line of symmetry? You average out your two x-intercept. So the formula they write here, all telling you the same thing. Okay? So I won't talk more about that. We have done that in E-Math. Okay, now the question wants me to find turning point. So when they ask for turning point, what can you do? Complete the square. So one way that you are used to is, let's complete the square. Take out the coefficient. Okay, you can skip steps if you are already very good at this. Okay, you should end up with plus 2 plus 6. Okay, so this is your completed square form. So if you want the turning point, you will get from here 1. You will get from here 6. So remember, this is always opposite of this, so that you will zero out. Okay, so this is your turning point. If you want to be a bit better, you tell me what kind of points is that. What is the nature of it? So in this case, this is your maximum point. If they ask for maximum value, only give me the y. Okay, so this is 1. And then they say, can you find the y-intercept? How to find y-intercept? Sub x as 0. So just put it into your equation. Okay, must you show the substitution? If it's 1 mark, no need. Don't work too hard. Okay, so this is the y-intercept. Okay, is there another way have? Just now I told you all, right? You can find the line of symmetry by using this formula. So if you want to find the x very quickly, you can take the b value and then put in the y value. Okay, and then it will give you 1, which is the same as this one. Once you get the line of symmetry value for x, you can sub this value into the equation. So it will also give you 6. So from these two, it gives you your turning point. So if you are worried about your completed square form, don't know correct, not correct, you can always double check by using this to do a quick check. If you don't want to do completing the square, also okay, you can straight away move to that and then just give me the answer also. So this is an alternative. Either method you can use for E-math. Everything you learn in A, you can use for E. It is your advantage. Okay, so this is an alternative method. This is the formula to find line of symmetry. Okay, part 2 asks you to let y equals to 0 and solve for x. This is your quadratic equation. So you can just straight away use quadratic formula to solve. So negative b plus or minus square root b square minus 4ac over 2a. So the highlight here is when you see the word exact, it means they don't want to see your answer having decimals. They want you to leave it in surd form, or the radical form, or the root form. So don't go and press calculator for the final answer. A-math likes exact values. So we will do this. Okay, like what I told you all to do in E-math, always evaluate what is in the bracket first, so that A-math, you need it to be done this way. So you go and calculate 16 plus 32, huh? Is it? 16 times 32. So what? 48. Okay, leave it as it is first. And then a negative 4. So for now, because I can't... Can I teach you further? 8 and 6, 4 and 12, 16 and 3. Okay, you haven't learned how to simplify surds, but maybe let me just give you a glimpse of chapter 3. Usually, they will want you to simplify your surd. So square root 48 is not the most simplified one. You have to break it down into its perfect squares. So 48 is the same as what? Is 16 times 3, right? Can you see this is a perfect square? You want as big as a perfect square you can form. So in surds, you learn that you can split it up into 2. These 2 means the same thing. If you're not convinced, use calculator to check. But square root 16 is 4. So this is actually the equivalent of a 4 root 3. Cannot understand this? Never mind. This is chapter 3 of A-math. Okay, so I'm just telling you, actually this one we can change it to this, and then we simplify. Okay, so you simplify, you can divide by -4 throughout, or divide by 4 throughout. Okay, so you will be left with -1 plus minus √3 divided by -1. So actually you have plus 1 . So these two answers. Okay, but actually I shouldn't have told you that. You just stop your answer here, can already. Okay, but this is the actual one. If you have learned enough, you should be able to simplify your answer until these two. But if you have shown me this is good enough for now because you haven't learned how to simplify surds. Okay, I better go and change this example. Okay, so like I mentioned, exact means leave your answer in surds. That means keep the square root as what it is. Don't go and evaluate on the calculator. Can So these are your two x values. Okay, that's it. I don't want to say more. Okay. Okay, if you want, you can continue trying, but I will not give extra homework today because you got CCA. But this is just because it's week 3. Gradually, CCA, I also give homework one. Okay, so just get used to every day with math, you have homework. Yes. Can. Yes. Okay, if you have finished your A-math just now, you can hand in. If not, next lesson, okay? I will try to return you your quiz the next lesson. Why you're so tired?
Oh, explore already.
Explore already. 4 period of math is like that. No choice. No choice. I try already. I try my best. Okay, shall we?